then if I take you to LRN10, which is at 3720, you then, sorry, 3720, LRN11. Right. This is an email that you send out, correct?
Correct, Chairperson.
Okay, can maybe just take us through the items in the email. As you're aware, the public protector had approved the task team. Can you maybe tell us in the context and how this task team came to be approved?
Yes, Chairperson. At the time, PII, which was my branch at National Office, the legal people were just myself and Mr. Mtupi. So I then approached the public protector to approve a task team of senior investigators who would then assist PII with finalization of the report. So that this is not the task team that the PP created. It was a smaller task team just to look at the Friede Dairy Project report.
And this, to your recollection, included Mr. Kikana, Advocate Redani, and Mr. Satauli.
Yes, Chairperson.
Right. And you say the final version of the report, was that a report that was finalized?
That would have been, through you, Chair, that would have been the latest version of the report that was doing the rounds in the office. Not that it was a signed report, just the latest version.
Okay. And then copies of letters directed to the Ministers of Agriculture and DTI. What was that, Mr. Ndau?
The public protector had requested PII to write to both ministers to see if their ministries or departments that fall under their ministries had dealt with projects similar to the Friede Dairy project in order to benchmark with the view that if they had, then would see if they would fall in line, with what those two departments had done. That was the understanding.
And did you get the response?
No, we never received a response as far as I recall, Chairperson.
Okay. And then I take it that 3 was the letter that had been directed to the Premier asking for further information, and 4 was the opinion as to whether it's a triple P or not.
Correct, Chairperson.
And then there were files of invoices that had been provided. And later in the email, you detail if we move further down, both you write reminders to the 2 ministers for a signature. Our view is that we have requested the 2 ministers to give us a good idea of our projects, such as the Friede project, should be properly run and then benchmark. So the ministers didn't respond, and then you prepared the reminders for them.
I recollect that, yes, we would have.
Yeah. And then you still needed to do comparison of the 2 sets of invoices to see if payments were done. Right? And then talk us through the last paragraph.
This paragraph relates to what I had picked up when I looked at the section 7.9 on the instruction of the public protector to see if it dealt with the issues that had been raised in the section 7.9, specifically to the Premier. And I, in order to do that, I also had to look at the latest draft report then. And I picked up that in the draft report, we were indicating that what was then in the media about the Gupta emails and how some of the monies that were meant for this project could have been diverted to foreign bank accounts and perhaps even paid for a wedding at Sun City, had a bearing for me, as far as I'm concerned, on the investigation that we're conducting.
Right. And were these Gupta Leaks the subject matter of the initial complaints lodged?
No, they were not.
Right. And had they been addressed in the investigation at that stage at all?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. I'm going to take you to a minute of a meeting, think tank meeting of the 14th of August 2017. If we can just go there. If we see on top the public protectors present, and you're also present on the list of, actually, yeah, second last line, you see your name.
Yes, Chairperson, yes.
And members of your task team are also present at this meeting. You see that?
Yes, Chairperson.
Now on page 31 of this minute, if we can just go down to that page, I think it's, sorry, I don't, you have to scroll. I don't have the exact number. Okay. Here is a report back at the think tank meeting of where Advocate Saliers in August presented the report. Points gives a report back on the 7-9 notices that the Premier had responded and that the MEC had responded by saying the Premier will respond. The report had been transferred to a new template, and she further explained issues that had been identified. Go down. Right, and then go further down. She deals with that. Stop quickly. The PP suggested that we approach the Premier to engage with the SIU to determine who benefited. The PP indicated that there's nothing wrong to check Gupta Leaks as well for purposes of this investigation, and that Advocate Saliers indicated that she did look at the emails on the press, went back to the financial statements to find if there's anything missing, but they didn't find anything. The CEO inquired about the pictures. Mr. Nemasisi indicated that it's critical to check the Gupta Leaks because you would find complainants taking reports on review. Advocate Saliers indicated that the complainant is interested in administration issues he raised in the complaint and not the Gupta Leaks. And then go up to the third column. What's written there? Go up. No, you're going down. Go up. Advocate Saliers, look at the Gupta links and see if there's anything that we're missing to add the paragraphs relating to the Gupta leaks and for the report to be resubmitted. Now, your evidence was that you had raised the issue with the public protector and you didn't receive a response. And that was in September.
Yes.
Can you explain that in the context of, it seems as if there was an instruction in August where the public protector was saying, look at the Gupta leaks.
Yes, Chairperson. My sense was, since in the latest version of the report, we were still sticking to the issue that there is no link between the Gupta links and the investigation that we're doing. And to add to that, what Advocate Celia herself has said at the think tank, to say the complainant is only interested in maladministration and not the Gupta Links, for me, it felt like there was still a gap, which is why I then raised it again with the public protector.
Okay. And if we turn to LRN 12, um, 3721. This is an email that is sent on the 17th of September to Advocate Mkubani and Mr. Nemasisi, and you see in there Mr. Matupi, correct?
Yes, correct, Chairperson.
And maybe just take us through that email.
In the email, I indicated that the response by the Premier dealt with the issues as raised in the section 7.9, but that they did not, in my opinion, include the kind of detail and supporting documentation that we required. And I was also of the view that perhaps from the Premier's office, there was a disengagement with taking a responsibility for what had happened in that project, because you'd get statements like it is our advice and so on. My sense is perhaps that was legal advice and so on. But the last paragraph is where I specifically again address this issue. Well, not again, where I specifically address this issue to say that we still have this one-liner which says we've noted the Gupta link emails, but they do not form part of the scope of this investigation. And I felt that, in my view, this was dismissive of the allegations in the newspaper articles, since some of the monies were alleged to have been used for other purposes other than the intended beneficiaries. And I indicated that this might then be a ground for review on the basis that this is a perfunctory approach that goes against what was enunciated in the Mail and Guardian case. And I also cautioned that as an institution, we need to have very good reasons why this avenue was not explored, since we specifically make reference to the emails in the one-liner that I had referred to.
What was the purpose of the reference to the Mail and Guardian case?
In that case, the court had taken the public protector to task for not following where the evidence leads, and had said, if you don't follow the evidence, then your investigation is not complete. That was the purpose that I referenced that case.
In other words, you say you shouldn't simply be confined to what is contained in the complaint.
In the complaint, yes.
Right. Did you receive a response to this email?
I don't recall receiving a response, no, Chairperson.
Did you raise the matter again?
I recall raising it at a subsequent task team meeting, and the public protector then saying that the emails were not part of the investigation.
And did you discuss this with anybody at that meeting?
I recall that during a break in the meeting, Mr. Tebele and Mr. Nemasisi indicated to me that they had raised the matter previously at testing meetings, and the PP had said we are not looking into the Gupta email.
Now, in November, if we go down to paragraph 30 of your report, of your affidavit, you contemplated that if all the information required, you could complete this report by January
Correct, Chairperson.
at that stage, right? And that the task team could then meet and finalize the issues relating to the financials on the 22nd of January.
Correct, Chairperson.
At that stage, further information from Mr. Maimani was still outstanding. What do you recall about that?
My recollection, Chairperson, is this related to information relating to the beneficiaries and whether they benefited from the project, if I recall correctly.
Right. And were you present at the meeting where Mr. Maimani had come to the office of the PP?
I was called to the meeting when it was almost done. I remember I received either an SMS or a WhatsApp from Ms. Ntoriseng Mutsitsi saying I should please come down to the main conference room. And when I got there, the meeting was actually winding up.
Okay. So you didn't know what was being promised other than what you had been told?
No, Chairperson.
All right. And by January, had the Freire report been finalized already?
Not yet, Chairperson.
Right. And then a memo is prepared. Can you recall the memo is at LNR 13 of your affidavit is the email? Mr. Kekani provides you with a memorandum on the 25th of January.
Yes,
You recall
Chairperson.
that?
Yes, I do, Chairperson.
Right. And the memorandum is the next annexure. And it deals, it points to a number of issues that it records must still be considered, which is summarized in, the committee's been through this memo, so I'm not going to take you through it, but if you go to paragraph 32 of your affidavit, and 33, you detail what the memo records at the time as being outstanding, that the task team still needed to consider the submissions from Mr. Magashulu, the internal legal opinion regarding the public-private partnership, the evidence of the beneficiaries, and further evidence from the dear leader had undertaken to provide, which had not been provided. Do you have any memory of the specifics of what was outstanding?
No, Chairperson, I can't say I do.
Okay. You then indicate that you received an SMS in paragraph 36. Just before we go there, Mr. Ndau, do you recall, was it your sense that the information in respect to the beneficiaries was important at the time?
From my discussion with the team, with the task team that was dealing with the matter, my sense was that given the issues that we had investigated, it wasn't.
You then received an SMS from the, you say a SMS from the PP asking about the progress of the matter.
Yes,
Can you more or less recall when that was?
My recollection is that it took I received the SMS on the 5th in the evening.
Right. And then what did you do?
The following day, then I called together the task team to, perhaps before I go there, Chairperson, no, let me rephrase. Then the following day, I then called together the task team to sit with me, and Mr. Matlawe also sat with us initially in the beginning to look at the report.
Okay. And the PP was out of the country at that time.
Yes, that is my recollection, Chairperson.
All right. And you hadn't yet received all the outstanding information. Can you remember what was missing?
I can't off the top of my head recall what was still outstanding, Chairperson.
Right. And you then convened the team to work on the report, correct?
Yes, Chairperson.
And then you say that on the 7th, you send the revised draft through to the PP. And we see
Yes,
that from LNR 15.
Yes, Chairperson.
Right. And if you go down to the bottom, you see it's just on the 7th of February, right? You say it sees that at 20 to 3, go down. All right. Attached, please find the report as requested and then go up. You get the response on the 7th at 20 past 4. Sent to yourself, Mr. Kabinda, Ms. Molelekwa, Mr. Nemasisi, and Ms. Mutsitsi. Issue 1 is confusing. Response to section 7(I) not included in all issues in dispute. Mr. Ndau and team, let's meet at 10 a.m. in the morning. Not happy with some of the information. Nemasisi, bring along your comments. That's from the public protector on the 7th.
Yes,
So she's
Chairperson.
back in office,
Yes.
right? And
Sorry.
this gets,
I can't confirm whether she was back in the office or she could have sent it from anywhere.
okay. Right. Then at 20 past 5, if you go up, Ms. Mutsitsi writes an email that says, "Dear PP, I wish I could attend the meeting to ensure that I'm not blamed for the substandard report. I will be attending the risk committee meeting tomorrow, chaired by Mr. Jooste, an external appointee. It is one of the governance structures and the committee will help us to curb PPSA risks." So Ms. Mutsitsi, you're not party to that email. You don't see this email. It's not
No.
sent to you, correct?
No, Chairperson. No, Chairperson, it's not correct.
And a copy of the report and next to it is then at LRN 16 of your affidavit, which was attached to the email being the copy that you sent. Right? Now you say
Correct.
in your affidavit, right? Sorry. You say in your affidavit at 38.3 that as far as you recall, that was your last input in respect of the report.
Correct, Chairperson.
But right now, if you go down, the PP has asked for a meeting the following morning at 10 a.m. Right? How does it come about that you're not at that meeting?
Chairperson, I had applied for leave for 2 days, which was approved. because I was preparing for an interview for the position of Vice Ombud.
And so you didn't attend the meeting on the 8th when the report was finalized?
No, I did not, Chairperson.
You were not at the office at all?
No, Chairperson.
Right. And the previous evening, on the 7th at 8:20, Mr. Nemasisi circulates a draft. And it's next to your affidavit. You included in this email. Do you look at that draft the night before? Do you get it?
I don't recall looking at it, Chairperson.
Would the email have come to you at home?
It would have come through when I had already left the office, but it would have come through to my inbox.
And where does your inbox go to? Your phone or your iPad or your computer or what?
It would be, my understanding is it would be saved on the server until I log into the system.
Okay. The PP then communicated with you on the 8th. You recalled receiving a communication, and what did that say?
The gist of the communication, Chairperson, was to say she was unhappy that I was not in the office on a day that we were supposed to be working on a report, and this would make our working together difficult going forward, and that my leave was cancelled forthwith and I must come to the office immediately.
But you at the time at this interview and you weren't able to do that?
I was actually at the library preparing for the interview. I was not able to do it.
Right. And you then say you anticipated adverse consequences. What happened? Well, let me say this. Did you respond to this WhatsApp or email or WhatsApp?
I don't recall responding to it, no, Chairperson.
Okay. And what then transpired when you returned to office?
On my return to the office, I received a notice, what is popularly known as an Audi letter from Ms. Mutsitsi, who was then acting CEO, if I'm not mistaken, to which I then responded.
And after you responded, did you hear anything further about it?
I did not hear anything further, Chairperson.
Okay. And so the report was finalized on the 8th and sent out, issued, correct?
To my knowledge, yes, Chairperson.
Was there a specific reason why the report, to your knowledge, had to go out on the 8th of February?
Not that I'm aware of, Chairperson, because as far as I'm aware, reports would go out in batches, and there would also be a media briefing where a number of reports would be released. To my recollection, this was the only report that was released, solo, and during the night. So I really can't speak to why that was done, but that was my first. It was my first time to come across a report being released in this manner.
Okay, and the one-liner you say relating to the Gupta Leaks remained in the final version?
Yes, Chairperson.
And were you at any stage instructed that the investigation had to be constrained or you couldn't do anything because of financial constraints?
Not that I recall, Chairperson, no.
And did the report that you had seen reflect anything to that effect, that the investigation or the had been impeded because of any capacity or financial constraints?
No, Chairperson, no.
And had any other investigation in the office been restricted or restrained because the PP's office had financial constraints that you were aware of?
Not any report that came through PII that I know of.
Mr. Ndau, I'm going to come to your notice at the moment or response that you sent to the notice. To do that, let's just take you there because I think you should take the committee through it. It's at LRN 19. And it's 3874 LRN 19. What was this, Mr. Ndau?
It was the response to the notice that I had received from Ms. Mtsitsi.
Okay. And can you maybe just take us through the substance of the notice without necessarily reading all of it? It starts off by talking.
Yeah, one of the issues that I raised there related to my absence on the 8th when the Friede report was being finalized. It also indicated the efforts that the task team and I had gone through to finalize the report in the time that it was required. Perhaps just to indicate to the committee through you, Chair, Ms. Mtsitsi had indicated to me when we were working on the report on the 6th that the public protector wanted to sign the report the following day, which was the 7th. And I would keep on receiving emails while we were working on the report to say the PP wants the report. And I would indicate to Ms. Mtsitsi that we're still working on the report. The other aspect that I touched upon was the issue of complaints emanating from provinces. I also I think if we can go down a bit so that I refresh my memory. No, down, not up, please, through you, Chair. There was also an issue relating to, that was raised in the notice, relating to
Mr. Don't just stop there because I think paragraph A, I just want to highlight that you were in charge.
Yes, one of the issues that I raised, because I was accused of actually showing disinterest in my work, and I had to indicate to Ms. Mtsitsi the span of control that was within my area of jurisdiction, and the fact that it was just myself and Mr. Mtupi through whom all reports came to me. I know there were provincial representatives as well, but all section 7.9s and section and reports would still need to come through me and Mr. Mtupi and so on. So I highlighted that and the fact that I felt that I did not have enough resources.
And subsequently to this, that's been split into two divisions, inland and coastal, correct? But at your time, you had all 9 provinces reporting to you.
The split happened, I think, just before I left the office, when Advocate Stoffel Fourie, who was at head office, asked to be transferred to the Eastern Cape Provincial Office. That's when the split happened. But at the time of this this memo, yes, provincial investigations was just all 9 provinces and regional offices under me.
Okay. And if you go just further down in your notice, you point out that you had raised an issue that meant that all 7-9 notices and reports from provinces had to come through you.
Yes, I was just indicating to the acting CEO, you know, the amount of work that was coming through PII. And also I highlighted the fact that at some point in 2017, an instruction had been given that the 2 investigation branches at national had to issue 3 reports, and with provinces we had to issue 2 reports per province, which meant 18 reports. So that also added to the work as well.
The acting CEO to whom you addressed this letter was who was it?
It was Ms. Mtsitsi.
Right. You then pointed out in this notice, if we go to B, that you also had to deal with internal reviews. What are
Yes.
those?
These, through you, Chair, this would be if a complainant is unhappy with how a matter was finalized. Perhaps just to indicate to the committee, if there is no formal report, then the matter would be finalized at branch level or at provincial level. So if a matter was finalized at provincial level and a complainant was dissatisfied with the outcome, then they could lodge an internal review, and all these reviews then would come through to my office, and my team would then prepare submissions on all these reviews, and then they would come to me to take a decision whether I uphold the review or not.
Okay. And you then referred to an instruction that you must conduct file inspections at all provincial offices.
Yes, through you, Chair. Yes, there was that instruction, and I recall with Mr. Mtupi, we went to the Eastern Cape and KZN.
Right. And you also served as chair of the bargaining forum, and you attended task team meetings on a Friday.
Yes, Chairperson.
That was a different task team to the one that had been created for the Friday report that you referred to earlier.
Yes, that would be the task team that was chaired by the public protector.
Right. You then referred to 2 investigators and 1 investigator having been transferred to PII. Who were they?
It would be 2 senior investigators. It would be Mr. Kekan and Advocate Raidani. And the investigator, if I recall correctly, was Mr. Refilo. I can't remember his name, but they brought their own investigation files with them as well.
And what were they investigating?
They brought files that had been placed within the private office, because that's where they were located with their own investigation. So when they left, when they were transferred to my branch, they brought their investigation files with them. Before that, PII did not conduct investigations. We were about managing provinces and not conducting investigations.
Okay. So they were now conducting investigations as well as assisting you in managing provinces.
Yes, Chairperson.
Right. And over and above task team meetings, you had what's called PII dashboards on a Tuesday to look at investigations. What were those?
Yeah. Those would be our own meetings to look at how far, well, to look at progress on the investigations that my senior investigators and my investigator were investigating, and also to look at reviews, how far they were with the reviews and so on.
Right. And then you point out, you refer to a backlog in F. Can you just talk about that? There was a backlog
Yes,
in PII.
yes. I was saying to the acting CEO that given all that I had said above, obviously there would be certain areas where some things, you know, would not move with the pace that I would have liked it to move, given the amount of work that PII was doing.
Right. And you then pointed out that you were working on weekends, you'd worked over the Christmas holidays, and you were given an instruction for an intervention on a water crisis in Masipumelele. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, I was just giving an example of we had been to Masipumelele with the public protector during stakeholder engagements, and there had been issues that were raised there. And if I recall correctly, the city of Cape Town had given certain undertakings to do something about services, but they seemed, at least from the spokesperson for the people that we met with in Masipumelele, there seemed to have been no headway. And they then alerted the public protector, and she communicated with me. I can't remember whether it was through a WhatsApp or an SMS. Then I was able then to intervene with the assistance of the Cape Town office. It was just before Christmas.
I think the Honorable Hendricks raised this issue with us at the start of the hearing, and the good work that the Public Protector's Office had done in respect of the Masipumelele matter. On the issue, you then deal with outreach programs.
Yes, one of the issues that I had to respond to was the fact that it was indicated that I was not giving guidance on to provinces on outreach programs, and I indicated that strategically outreach did not fall under PII. It fell under CSM, it's complaints and something management. I can't remember the full name. So I was saying I'm actually being accused of something that does not even resort under my span of control.
And you then point out you approached the acting CFO about.
Yes, Chairperson. What had been happening at that point is all requisitions, whether it's for travel, for anything that province is required, they had to come through me, and they would have to go to finance to indicate whether there are funds or not. And in most cases, there would be a comment from finance to say funds not available, funds not available. So I then approached the I can't remember whether it was the acting CFO, to say, given this state of affairs, wouldn't it be better if there is a communique to everyone to indicate to them that we've got issues with finances, so that people know? Because then they come to me and ask me, why are our requisitions not being approved? Because as far as we are concerned, our budget has not been exhausted. So that's the reasoning behind this issue as I raised it here.
And the CEO then indicated that such a circular was about to be disseminated, and you then requested at the first meeting of EXCO that they must avoid clinics where accommodations was involved.
Yes, that was after a meeting through you, Chair, of EXCO, which was us management together with the CEO, that we were facing financial constraints. And it had been suggested that at the first meeting, if I recall correctly, that things like clinics, which would entail, traveling, and mostly it would be 2 outreach officers, and they would have to sleep over because these clinics were far from where the office is located. If, for example, it's the Eastern Cape office, they would go as far from the Bishop main office as possible in order to be accessible in terms of the constitution. So that is where this is coming from. So I then indicated to provinces that they should avoid clinics where accommodation is involved. Initially, we just wanted them to drive in and out, which means then to areas which are nearby the office.
Right, and then you deal with the issue of leases, and in 1.10, you deal with the issue of investigations, inspections.
Oh yes,
Can you talk to that?
Yes, one of the suggestions, or let me say, one of the discussions at the EXCO that was chaired by the CEO was to say, regarding investigations, inspections in loco should be avoided, and that we should consider, in most cases where we wanted to investigate, calling officials to our offices rather than going to their offices as well. And lastly, I indicated that as the executive manager for PII, I would sometimes be requested to chair alternative dispute resolution sessions at head office. And sometimes a matter would be a provincial matter, but the involved officials would be at head office. Before we had financial constraints, then the investigators involved would then come to attend the ADR session. But after this, we then suggested that we go ahead without the relevant investigators. That is where that is coming from, Chairperson.
And in point 11, you indicate that the amount of work that rested on your shoulders was considerable, and they should give consideration to more resources to PI above the level of senior investigator.
Yes, Chairperson.
And having said that, you tendered an apology for any impression that you had lost interest in your job. You pointed out how long you've been there and that you take pride in the office and what they've achieved over the years and your contribution. And you attached certain areas that you thought could be improved, correct?
Yes, yes, Chairperson.
Now, this was the response to your Audi letter that you say after you provided this response, there was nothing further that occurred.
Yes, Chairperson.
Correct?
Yeah, correct, Chairperson.
Now, Mr. Ndau, you a couple of months ago, you received a LinkedIn invitation from the Public Protector.
Yes, Chairperson. It was, if I'm not mistaken, on the 25th of April.
(2022) this year.
This year, yes, Chairperson.
And how did you respond?
I just accepted the invite because I wasn't sure what it's all about.
Okay. Can I ask you, Mr. Ndau, you familiar with, you've been apprised of the charges in this matter by us, correct?
Yes, Chairperson.
And charge 4 specifically, deals with an accusation that the Public Protector had intimidated, harassed, or victimized staff, or alternatively failed to protect them from the erstwhile CEO in the office, then Mr. Mashlangu. Can I ask you, in your experience, have you been intimidated, harassed, or victimized by the public protector?
Not that I can recall, Chairperson.
And have you been intimidated, harassed, or victimized by the CEO? Bushi Mashlangu?
Mr. Mashlangu. No, Chairperson.
I don't have any further questions for this witness, Mr. Chair, but I do have an issue that I'd like to raise in respect of this witness's further testimony.
Okay, I will allow you to raise that. Thank you.
We are aware from the evidence of previous witnesses that have been before this inquiry that at some point in 2017, and Mr. Chilela took us through the timeframes yesterday, that Mr. Ndau had faced a charge of sexual harassment at the office, that he had been served with these charges after he had already tendered his resignation, and that there was no process that then followed because he tendered a medical certificate on the time when the first hearing of the disciplinary process was going to occur, and he subsequently left the employ of the public protector. We'd also heard evidence yesterday of him having initially been exonerated, and then based on further investigations, a decision was taken that the matter would then proceed. And Mr. Chair, I'm raising this in the context of the following. Mr. Ndau had been charged. He had not been found guilty of any offense. The issues relating to the charge and the substance of that is highly prejudicial, an invasion of his privacy, and is not material to the motion before this committee. I am aware that the Public Protector's team had obtained a copy of the Human Resources file from the Public Protector's office. And whilst I'm aware of the breadth of the approach of the committee to the relevance of evidence before this committee and the unlimited ambit by which members of the committee have been permitted to ask questions, the approach of the evidence leaders is that the information in the ambit of that information is firstly not material, relevant to the motion, and highly prejudicial, and an invasion of the privacy of a witness who has come forward at our request and who would face tremendous prejudice in the public domain. Mr. Ndau has future plans that could be jeopardized by such information being put out on social media, etc. And it's not so much just the answers that is given to questions, but it's also the questions that get asked themselves. And that would have an impact not only on the witness himself, but his immediate family. And we have seen how that operates. And so whilst I'm not wanting to suggest that no questions can be asked in respect of this, but that firstly, there's a consideration given that to the extent any questions of that nature be asked as deemed necessary by the committee, that be done in a closed forum, alternatively that it not be allowed at all.
Thank you, Advocate Bauer. At that point, so that the committee applies its own mind on the issue. And at this stage, wouldn't concede to any of the two options you're putting on the table. But I will ask the committee to spend about 10-15 minutes on this issue. And I will therefore excuse you as evidence leaders, as well as the public protector and the legal team of the public protector, so that when you come back before the legal team of the public protector starts, the committee would have applied it mind. So that happens both physically here and as well on the virtual. It therefore means you'll have extended tea. We'll be back at 12:15. And therefore, please excuse us because we're going to have our own session and ask our legal team to give us a bit of a briefing. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I may have neglected to say that I have had a conversation about this with Advocate Mpofu beforehand. I don't know if he wants to.
No, I'm excusing you and all of you. I'm not opening any discussions from you and Advocate Mpofu. Thank you.
Chairperson, that's unfair, but what can we do? Huh? Thank you.
Yeah, I says our technical boy.
Recording
Okay,
stopped.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. Just before we start,
Recording in progress.
we're going to ask you, Advocate Mpofu, to log off and come back at 15:15.
Okay, Chairperson.
Okay. I will not close that. Okay, we'll ask YouTube stream to just log off and log yourself back at 12:15. You are given an extended break. Thank you. I'm Marlene, man.